Okay, so this is the second video of the Streamlit series. In this video, we're going to be looking at widgets and getting the basic idea of how they work. So the first thing I would recommend is you go to the Streamlit website and we go to the docs link here, which should open up this, which is going to be really useful. Now, the main area we're going to be looking at is in here, the API reference. And this will give us all of the widgets that are available for us that are built into Streamlit. So if we look at the app I've got set up at the moment, okay, so this is what I've got, which is similar to what we finished with last time. I've got import Streamlit as ST at the top, so I'm using a Streamlit library, and I can refer to it as ST. I've set up a function here, which is going to be the main function that's going to launch the application, and then I run the function on line 6 here. Now, for this one as well, you're going to need another library called Pillow. So if I go down to my Python packages, and I search for Pillow, this one here, you're going to want to install this as well. It's going to be important as we're going to need this for some of the image editing and loading images that we're going to do later on. Okay, so make sure you've got this library installed as well as the Streamlit one into this environment. Okay, so if we go across to the Streamlit website, and the first thing we're going to look at here is this text elements. So I'm going to bring this down, and these are all of the widgets that we can use to put text onto our application. So let's start by putting in a title. Now, to start with, when you're using documentation like this can be a bit daunting looking at this and trying to interpret what all of this means. So what I'd recommend when you're playing with and learning how to use these widgets is the first thing to do is to go down and look at the examples that they give you. So this line we've already got in our application, so we're not going to take that one across. We're going to take, in fact, I'm just going to take one of them. I'm going to take this line here, copy it, and bring it into my application. Let's give a different title. Okay, so remember when we're going to run this, we're going to click on Terminal. Now on the computer I'm using today, you'll see, oh sorry, where's my terminal not coming up? Here we go. So I get this, and I don't know why it happens on my version of PyCharm on here, but if this is happening on yours as well, and that you've got this kind of PS and you don't have VENV here, the virtual environment, then what you need to do is come up to here, add a, oh no, sorry, not add a new session. Click on the down arrow, click on command prompt. Okay, and there you go. Now this is the correct one that I'm using. I can close that other one down. Okay, so to run the application, we do Streamlit, run, and then we do the name of the Python file we want to run. So in this case for me, it's demo1.py. Give it a few minutes. Okay, there's the address that it's going to run at, and it will automatically open in my browser. Okay, great, my title's working. So there's my title, my first application here. Perfect. So if we go back now and have a look at this, and we look down, let's have a look at getting some text in as well. So I'm going to take the example. In here. Okay, so remember, we're not going to click on the green arrow for these ones. We switch back to the website that we're using. And at the top here, it will say rerun. You can choose to do this, and then it means you have to manually rerun it each time. Otherwise, you can click always rerun, and it will automatically update every time you make a change. So if I click here, and there we go, we've got the text that's come in here now. So feel free to explore what some of these others do before you move on. Okay, you can pause the video at this point and have a look at some of the other options. But if you want to, what we're actually going to move on to now is the data display elements. Oh no, sorry, not those. I think data display, it's media elements. I want to put some photos on. So in media, we can add images, we can add audio, and we can add video. So the first one I'm going to look at is the images here. Okay, so just like before, I'm going to scroll down. Now you'll notice now we haven't just got a single import. That's the normal one that we've got. We've got a new import, and this is using the Pillow library that we installed a little bit earlier. So I'm going to take those 3 lines of code, move them here. But as you know, all your imports really should go at the top of your application. So I'm going to move this to the top and tidy up a little bit down here. Okay, so here, this image, you can see where it's highlighting. This is part of the Pillow library and allows us to open an image into a Python object, which we've called image here. This is the file that it's going to look for. And if you look on the files that I've got on the left-hand side, that doesn't exist on my computer. So this isn't going to work at the moment. So what I recommend you do is we try and keep our code files and our kind of media separate. So you can see I've got a directory for images and one for music. To do that, you click on the very top folder, you right click, you go new directory, and you create one, which in this case I've called one images. Now inside of there, you can drop photos and other media, okay, into these folders. And you can see I've got one photo loaded here. So to access that, I have to tell the computer to go to my images folder and then load photo.jpg. Okay, so that loads that into this image. Now remember, that isn't anything to do with Streamlit at the moment. The actual Streamlit widget we're going to use is this one here. So we're going to use streamlit.image. This is the image we want it to load. Okay, and this is the caption for the image. And I'm going to change that to okay. Back to the demo. Rerun. Okay, great. So the image is loaded fine, but as you can tell, maybe it's a little bit big for what I was wanting. Okay, so this is where we can start using the documentation. We come back, go back up here, and when we create an image, this is telling us all of the things that we can set when we're creating that image. So we can give it the image like we did, and as it says here, it tells us what kind of images we can actually send it. We can give it a caption, which we did actually on this one. We've also got a parameter we can set called the width. Use column width, which will be later on when we get into how to display things and lay things out with the layouts. We've got another one called clamp, another one called channels, and another one called output format. Now, to be honest, a lot of these, unless you really need them, unless you're looking for something, most of the time you can just ignore them. Obviously, we said the image is too big, so I need to find one that can help with that. And I would say this one looks like it could be quite useful. So I go down to width, and it says I either need to give it an integer or nothing. Okay, which wouldn't make much sense in this sense. So none means use the image width, but do not exceed the width of the column. Okay, so again, this is more, we can use this if we had layouts, but we haven't got a layout at the moment. So let's go back. So on here, I've got image, I've got caption equals this, and I also want to set the width. And let's set the width to 200 pixels. Okay, back to the website. Rerun, great, that's looking better. Okay, so that's the basic media one. You can also include audio into your application and video. So again, it's probably a good time to pause the video now and explore maybe one or both of those options. Okay, moving on, the next thing we're going to look at is an input widget. So in this case, we're going to look at the button one. Just like before, scroll down, ignore that first line because I don't want that duplicated in my code. I'm going to take that and I'm going to place that below. Okay, so we've got a button that's going to say hello, and then we've got an if statement here and an else as well. So let's, before we even play with it, let's just see what that's done. Rerun my code. Okay, so there's the button that says hello, and then we've got goodbye down here. If I click say hello, okay, so that text changed. So let's see why that happened. So this was the creation of the button here. And you can see here, this must be the text that gets put on the button, the say hello part. So really what we're saying here is if SD button say hello, and really what the computer is doing is this, and the button will return true if we click on it. So basically what the code is saying, if we click on that button, then we're going to write why hello there to the screen. And if we haven't clicked on the button, or before we've clicked on it, it's going to write goodbye. Now that's okay, but what I would like it to do actually is to interact with this bit up here. So I want to change the text on this title. How do I do that? Now, if I just put something like this, go back, rerun. It's not really what I wanted. I wanted the actual text to change at the top. Now I've got another title down here. Okay, so we need some way to reference this and tell the computer that we're trying to change this widget at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this top. Let's call it top widget. So when this loads, it's actually going to save like a reference to this. So now we can refer to it. So if I come down here now, and I put top widget dot. Now the really cool thing about Streamlit is I can actually change that widget to a different one if I wanted to. So I could make it text or a button or an image. Okay, and let me just actually show you. If I change it to text and set it to wow, and we go back again. So you see the actual title changed to a text widget instead. So the text got a lot smaller in this case. I didn't actually want that to happen. I wanted it still to be a title. So I'm going to say top widget, still going to be a title, but instead it's going to say this now. Rerun again. Great. Okay, so when you want to build in links and you want to change things, this is what you want to do. So for example, if I wanted to have this image change here, I would maybe then save it as image widget. Okay, and then in here, I could put image widget dot image and then pass it a different image. Okay, give it a different photo here to then make that picture change. Okay, let's just revert that back from there. Okay. So there's quite a few different input widgets that you can have, all the way from getting people to have, just load in here, checkboxes, okay, are available. We've got radio boxes, which is where you can select multiple ones. Okay, we've got some really nice sliders. And all the ways, like things that tend to be can be quite difficult to implement on your own without having a GUI like this. For example, a date input, where we can click and it will actually bring up a little widget to allow us to select a date. Same with time input, we've got uploads, we've even got a camera input. Now this one's really interesting. I'm not going to put this one on because I'm not looking too great tonight. I don't want you to see my my camera, but this is one is worth giving a try, which would be these lines here. And what it will do, it will actually use your computer's camera then to take an image. So one of the challenges could be to actually use this to take a picture and then get that picture to then change the one that we've put up here. Okay, that would be a good little challenge at the moment to have a go. Now, once you've kind of got the hang of it, of using these widgets and exploring the parameters that you can change on them when you're creating them, it opens up so much. Because then if you understand how these work, you can start looking pretty much at any of these in here. Okay, and really starting to explore what you can do with Streamlit. So for the rest of this session, I would recommend that you do explore these widgets and you have a go at what you can do with them. And then in the next video, I will start going over layouts, and so we can use much nicer and ways of positioning the widgets on the screen, because at the moment they're just going to stack one on top of each other. And I will show you how to actually implement columns and have kind of dropout menus and things like this. Oh, one thing before I go, one thing you can always change as well is if you go to your settings here, you've got an active theme that runs with the app that's on the screen now. So you could actually go in here and change like the font that's being used or the colors that are being used for the sliders and the background color, for example. So I could come in and set this to a pretty horrible color, something like this. Okay, and you'll see then the whole background color will change. So if you want to kind of change the look of your site, it's over here in the settings one. Okay, I think that will do for this video, and I will see you for the layouts one.